This is one of Fitness Blender's lower back workout routines. In this workout, we're going to be going through 8 different exercises for 50 seconds each. We're going to be moving through relatively quickly, so there's not going to be any rest in between, just the time it takes you to move from one exercise to the next. We're only going to be going through one round, and you're not going to need any equipment. So let's go ahead and get started with our first exercise, the Pilates breaststroke. You're going to start this one off laying face down on the ground, tucking those elbows to your sides, hands just up by those shoulders. Lift your chest and those legs up off the ground really nice and high, and trying to keep that chest stationary. You're going to reach those hands out over your head as you exhale, then inhale as you sweep those arms back, tapping those thighs, and then bending those elbows so those hands start back at those shoulders. And then start that motion over again by exhaling as you extend those arms out. Now the whole time you want to try to keep that chest and those feet the same distance off the ground, just squeezing everything up really nice and high. As you extend those arms out, your chest is going to want to drop on you a little bit, but try to keep that back nice and tight, keeping that chest up off the ground. You have just a few seconds left. Keep that back nice and tight, squeezing those glutes, getting those legs and that chest up as high as you can. Now we're almost done, just about 5 seconds left. We're going to switch to Pilates swimmers next. And go ahead and let it relax. Get those arms extended out. It's the opposite arm, opposite leg. So that left hand, right leg is just going to come up. And then that right arm, left leg. Just keep alternating back and forth. Keeping a nice tight squeeze to that lower back. If you can, try to keep those hands and feet hovering off the ground so you don't want to let them actually touch the ground as you move back and forth. Now if you can't quite do this full version, then you can always move to a half version, a little bit easier version, where you actually let those hands and feet touch the ground in between each repetition. You slow the repetitions down just a little bit and let that hand and foot actually completely contact the ground and let it release for just a second before you switch back over to the other side. Now whichever version you can do, try to do the hardest version for as long as you can. You can always switch down halfway through. If you can, do the hardest version all the way through. Got just a few seconds left until we switch to our next exercise. We're moving to windmill toe touches next, so go ahead and stand up for this next one. And go ahead and get those arms straight out from one another, bend straight over towards the ground so that chest is parallel to the ground, and then just rotate left to right, getting as much of a rotation to that torso, through those shoulders as you can, trying to reach down towards the ground with that hand every single time. Just make sure you're trying to keep that back perfectly flat, just rotating back and forth in a nice slow motion. You don't want this to be fast, you don't want to be jerking back and forth. Everything should be under control, all those muscles to that core nice and tight. All of that motion bending you forward, getting that chest parallel to the ground, should be hinging from that hip joint and nothing to that back. That back should be perfectly flat. Keep those legs almost completely straight, just a slight bend in that knee. Don't let them bend like crazy. You want to have just a tiny bit of a bend there. And just 10 seconds left. Keep this motion going nice and strong. We're going to be moving on to a straight leg deadlift next. And go ahead and let it relax. Nice flat back again. You're going to tip straight forward towards the ground, keep that back flat, hinging only from that hip joint. That back's going to be nice and straight from that shoulder all the way down to that hip. Don't let that lower back round. All that motion should be coming just from that hip joint. Those knees should be just barely bent. You don't want to lock that knee out completely, but you don't want to let that knee bend. You want to keep just a tiny little bit of a bend so that knee's just a little bit soft. Just keep that motion going, getting a full extension as far down as you can go without letting those knees bend and without letting that back round. Just keep that motion going a little bit longer. Make sure you're getting a really nice tight squeeze to those glutes and that hamstring for this exercise. Now if you want to use a little bit of weight for this exercise, feel free to next time. Just make sure you start really nice and light to make sure you can handle it first. Always form is most important. We're moving to a rotational toe touch next. And go ahead and start up that next exercise, rotating back and forth with those shoulders. It's kind of a combination between the last two exercises, so a deadlift and a rotation. Moving back and forth nice and slow. Try to get as much rotation to those shoulders as you can without bending that back too much. You want most of that tipping forward motion to come just from that hip joint again. Again, try to keep those knees relatively straight. Reaching down, trying to get a really good stretch on that hamstring as well as working that lower back and those glutes. And just 10 seconds left. Keep it going. Keep those core muscles nice and tight, those leg muscles and those arm muscles. Just keep everything nice and solid. And go ahead and let it relax. We're going to move on to back bows next. So flat down on your stomach, arms straight out over your head. This one, those arms and legs are going to come up at the same time. Exhale as you squeeze it up, inhale as you drop back down. If you can, keep those arms and legs hovering, or you can do a slightly easier version where you actually let those arms and legs touch the ground every single time in between each repetition to give you just a little bit more break. Just make sure you don't let those muscles completely release. You can let them rest, but don't let them completely release. Now, another way to make this a little bit easier is what Kelly just did right here. Is you can actually pull those hands down by your head as opposed to over top of your head. And that just changes the leverage just a little bit, makes it a little bit easier to do this motion. Also, if you want it a lot harder, you can always use a little extra weight. Holding a weight just above your head, the small dumbbell, or a full extension with those arms and holding that dumbbell. Just pick something nice and light to begin with because it doesn't take much to make this a lot harder. Alright, we're almost done, just a few more seconds. We're going to be moving to bird dogs next. It's going to come up onto those knees. Hands directly underneath those shoulders, knees directly underneath those hip sockets. Bring that left arm and right leg out, extend them out, and then that opposite side. Just alternate back and forth. A little bit of a squeeze and hold at the top each time. Make sure those core muscles are nice and solid the entire time. Contracting those arm muscles, contracting those legs. Making sure every single muscle to that body is nice and solid to burn a few more calories and to make sure you're getting a really nice tone out of this and focusing on contracting that back to really help increase that endurance and strengthen that lower back. And we're almost done with this exercise, just 10 seconds left. Keep it alternating back and forth. When we're done with this, we're going to switch to a cobra to child's pose. Just a couple seconds left. And go ahead and switch it. Lay down flat on your stomach. We're going to be doing the cobra pose first, so arch that back up. Legs flat against the ground, top of that foot flat against the ground. Pressing those shoulders down away from that neck. Then you're going to sit back into that child's pose. Stretching those hands away from you. Trying to flatten your body down to those thighs as much as you can. And reverse it back to that cobra pose. We're just going to be holding it for a few seconds in each position. Switch it back to that child's pose, sitting back in those heels, stretching those hands away from you. Try to keep those lungs open, breathing as normally as you can. Now with this cobra pose, you want to feel it predominantly stretching those abdominal muscles and those hip flexors. You want to feel it a little tiny bit in your chest possibly, but predominantly just in those abs and hip flexors. And this child's pose, you're going to feel through those shoulders and that chest, that lower back, and maybe even a little bit into the side of that rib cage. Just keep alternating back and forth. Like I said, just a few seconds in each position. And that is it. Very good. This workout is complete. You've just finished Fitness Blender's lower back workout.